All right, everybody, we're back for another expert interrogation. I hope you guys got to check out last Tuesday. This past Tuesday, we had Chris Savage from Wistia. It was a super awesome show. You can check that out in the archives page on expertinterrogations.com, which is probably where most of you are. Some of you may be on Spreecast, and some of you may be from mobile phones right now. Spreecast just announced that you're going to be able to be on a mobile app for your iPhone and your iPad, and you'll be able to interact and everything, and you should be able to still, even from straight from the page without the app, hit play once we go live. But we got Mike, I'm already going to say it wrong. Buonaiuto?
Buonaiuto. Hello, you're right.
Hey, well, we're excited to have him over here from the UK, from London, I believe. And if you guys haven't got to, I just linked up in the chat earlier, and I'll put it in here again for you guys. You guys got to check out his demo reel. Honestly, he's on here right now today for a couple reasons, and one of the reasons is this demo reel, and another reason is Twitter, which we're going to talk about. Everybody get an echo from me? I'm hearing a little bit of echo in my ear. You've got headphones on, so let's see. Let me make sure there's not another. Do you have two windows open, Mike, by chance?
I don't know. It might be just because. No, I haven't. No.
Okay, Bill, Bill and John, if you guys. Yeah, well, no, everybody, if you have an echo, because some are saying no, just check that you don't have two windows open. You might have two windows open. All right, good deal. So, so basically the reason I have Mike on here today is I checked out that demo reel I just put in the chat, which you guys can check out. Just gorgeous. And the big thing that we talked about after the fact is, you can't be a master of all things. So Mike can't claim to fame that he shot, edited, graded, did the music, and did everything on every shot in that. But he masterminded behind it to put the great teams together to bring that together. And one of the things, too, as we talked about was Twitter. Twitter being a big asset for him to help network and find people. And he's over in the UK now, but he's getting ready to go to New York City. So a couple more things and we'll get started. Anybody in guest mode, if you guys want to interact in the chat or you want to submit a question, because the second half of the show, we're going to take your questions. And so be sure to log in either via Facebook or Twitter. It's real simple. When you try to chat or when you try to submit a question, I'm going to ask you to log in. Log in via Facebook or Twitter to be able to interact and get your questions in for the second half. And let's see, anything else? Next Tuesday, we're giving away our GoPro. So again, if you're on the Expert Interrogation page here, you should see a little link, and it's for the GoPro. And we're really simple over on Facebook. You like, share it, and you'll be able to sign up for that contest. So we're going to announce that next Tuesday. And without further ado, let's get this show on the road. So Mike, welcome. Appreciate you being here. And why don't we give a little bit of your background up front? I know you joked with one of your first comments on Twitter, but just give us a little background how you got into all this.
Yeah, okay. So I trained as a journalist at university. So I always wanted to go into journalism. I loved it. I loved storytelling. And I thought the perfect way of doing that, because I was a bit dubious. Like, I didn't know whether to go and get a real job where it was safe, or go and study a job, or go and study for a fun job. So I thought that journalism would be the best of both worlds, really, and I'd get to have some fun. So I did a journalism degree. I studied as a journalist in the UK, and then specialised as a television journalist. And it was through doing that, really, that I really first fell in love. Well, I've always really loved cinema, but it was that really kind of put it on the map for me. So when I left uni, I got a job at a automotive and sport PR agency, and they were looking to bring in someone who could really start to bring in a new asset to the company, which was video. So they wanted to supply video assets to their clients so that they could improve the online capabilities of the story. So for instance, if you supply a video along with some pictures with a press release, it's far more likely to get coverage online, and therefore for a PR agency, they're far more likely to sell that as a product. So I came in fresh from uni and set up a department in this PR agency in London, had a really good time. Most of the time I was up till like 3 o'clock in the morning, or working from 3 o'clock in the morning, because when you're shooting cars, it always looks better first thing in the morning or last thing at night. And that was awesome. That was really good fun. Found myself kind of pit side at Silverstone and all these other crazy places, which was a great sort of throw me right into the deep end. And then I moved jobs over to here, which is a creative agency in Winchester called Nuco, which is part of the Remarkable Group. And so I came here to head up film and video. Sorry, it's a mouthful. And so I joined about 2 years ago, and we produce kind of product promos, adverts, social media campaigns, video for social media. We do quite a lot of viral campaigns and lobbying now at the moment as well. And that's really exciting, and especially last year, that's what really dominated last year for me was all the viral campaigns and the differences that we could do and we could see in local and national government by using video to change the law. And that's where I am at the moment. As you said, I'm just about to hop over the pond to New York, and I'm joining a great not-for-profit organisation out there called All Out, which are part of the Purpose Foundation. They are really innovative in the way that they are producing interactive content to change the world, basically to lobby for all different kinds of issues. And so they use social media, video, and images to communicate their message and get their audiences interact with the message as well, share it on, and then they produce petitions which then get onto government officials, MPs, ministers, and effectively start changing the world that way. Right? It's really exciting to be joining an agency that's over in New York, but in the same time, not an agency, sorry, an organisation. But at the same time, it's great to be doing something which is actually which is joining an organisation that's doing good in the world, doing positive good. So that's really exciting.
Absolutely, perfect. Well, so talk about for a second, we have a lot of people who, might be just doing this as a hobby and try to figure out, should they be freelance? Should they start their own company? There's guys who start their own company and they're questioning whether or not they should have just been freelance or whether they should work for somebody else, all these kind of aspects. So for you, you've obviously chosen to kind of, I don't know, would you say that you're really freelance or you're kind of actually hired by the company as a full-time employee? If you want to explain that, but then what made you choose that route over trying to just kind of do it completely freelance or owning your own, production company and being the head of the whole thing?
Okay. So when I first graduated from university, I was petrified of being freelance because it meant job went like this, and therefore you never knew when your next paycheck was coming from. And to me, that was important. But in television also, so in the creative industry, especially with video, you can choose the television route, and that's very freelance in the way that it operates. You're always sort of looking for work, you're looking for that next contract, and you're hopping from contract to contract. And I wanted to use what I'd learned about journalism and use what I'd learned about the online spectrum and really get on the train that was moving in a better direction, I thought, and that was online video. And so sort of 5 years ago, online video, well, YouTube launched 2005, and then shortly after I started getting a job. So like it was brand new. And so I've almost grown with it and learnt with it. So a lot of people do choose the television route, and I've got a lot of friends that have chosen the television route and they love it. It just wasn't really for me. I'm more about kind of making adverts, making people think, touching people's emotions, and that's really where I feel that the work that I've produced has come into its own, really. So yeah. I think that answers the question.
Perfect. No, so let's talk for a second about how you've utilized Twitter to help, on some level, build these teams. Everybody always thinks there's a lot of guys out there. They all think that they've got to be all things. They've got to shoot. They've got to edit. They've got to sell. They've got to network. They've got to do it all. And, a lot of guys attempt it and somewhat, on some level, pull it off. But on a lot of cases, there's obviously always things that struggle. People are always struggling with something. And for you, we talked about beforehand about building teams. and how, again, you can't be the master of all things. And so talk about how you've gone about building teams to put together, what people can see in that demo reel, for example, and even how you've utilized Twitter to help bring some of these, jobs and opportunities to life.
Okay. Well, it's quite funny, really. The first time that I used Twitter was right when it first started, and I logged on. I didn't get it, and actually my first ever tweet, I'm so ashamed, but it's quite funny. My first ever tweet was, "Twitter smells of bird shit," and I tweeted a friend that, and I didn't even realize what I was doing. I just thought, what is this? I don't get it. And then about 6 months later, I went back to it, and now I kind of run my life on it. Like, I think it went down yesterday, and I didn't really know what to do with myself. Twitter has been absolutely incredible all the jobs and roles that I found through Twitter and networking, and all the teams that I've built. So, for instance, last year we produced a film for the Coalition for Equal Marriage, and that was called Homecoming. It was on YouTube. It's now had close to 1 million hits. It's 950,000 hits. I think 700,000 hits in its first week online, and that was created by a team of people all working on a voluntary basis, and all people who I connected with on Twitter. So, for instance, in some ways, you have to be a jack of all trades in this industry, I think. So I can shoot, I can edit, I can animate a little bit, and I'm learning, and I'm picking up as much as I can. I can produce, I can direct, I can lead teams, but I know where my strengths are, and I know where people are better at things than I am, and that's what I think you just touched on. So my ethos really in life or in my working life, is to build teams of people who are better at skills than you are. So therefore, together you can accomplish far more. And I think, for instance, the Homecoming film, which has had such amazing results. After it just blew us away. 700,000 hits first week online, and then within, I think, 3 to 4 months, we were finding ourselves on a secondary campaign where we were interviewing the likes of Theresa May, Nick Clegg, Richard Branson, Paloma Faith, the Saturdays, and then it really topped it off when we were invited to number 10 Downing Street to meet the Prime Minister, to talk about how video and the campaign had really helped it helped convince people that the change in law, in the marriage laws in the UK, do need to happen, and they need to happen quicker. And it's almost it helped pave the way. And I think that's when it kind of struck me that it was like, video has the power to really touch people emotionally, and if you can do that, then you can actually start to change the world. And that these campaigns had such small, humble beginnings. The video that I was talking about, Homecoming, which is on YouTube, it was from the idea that, why can soldiers in the UK go off and fight for this country, yet when they come back, every soldier is not given the same rights in terms of marriage. So, for instance, soldiers in same-sex relationships can't marry, whereas soldiers in different sex relationships can. So it was that main argument, that little sort of insight that we thought up, that suddenly exploded into this huge idea, where all these people jumped on and everyone got excited about it. And that's credible. 10 years ago, you wouldn't be able to do that. I think 5 years ago, you wouldn't be able to do that. So it's great to be working with such talented people and at the forefront of, I think, what will happen in the future.
That's phenomenal. And last year, at the very end of the year, I had the privilege of actually, which we'll talk about here, had the privilege of shooting for Richard Branson and shooting on his island, on Necker Island. It was absolutely amazing. Wow. And what I loved that you talked about is the aspect of something that he lives and breathes by, and how he's built his empire, is that aspect of finding people smarter than you. And I think so many of us, we always want to try to be the smartest person, when in reality that's not the smartest thing to do, basically. The smarter thing to do is figure out what your strength is. I love, like, Gary Vaynerchuk. I don't know if you ever heard of him, but he always says, focus on your strengths and just forget about your weaknesses. Certain things you've got to get stronger at, but there's certain things you're naturally gifted at. And so, obviously, will you point out again one more time what you feel you're strongest at, even though, like you've said, you can do everything?
Yeah, as I said, I think in this industry you need to be a jack of all trades. You need to know,
Right.
especially if you're managing teams, you need to understand what they're doing and what you need to do as a team. My strengths are in directing, producing, camera. I love shooting. I love it when I can get my hands on a camera. Normally I'm pushed back into the director's chair, but I love getting my hands on a camera. Editing, I love sitting down, a cup of coffee, in the dark, couple of days editing. I love that. I'm really passionate about that, and I'm learning more and more about animation. I used to be a video and graphics designer at an agency as well. So I'm picking up all these little traits along the way. But I think you touched on a really good point that you can't be. You have to know where your strengths and weaknesses lie. And I think too many people, I think, when they're choosing a job in any career, don't actually consider what they enjoy, what they love, and what they're good at. They just sort of sometimes go to what's easy. And now this industry is by no means easy. Like there's a lot of, I mean, I know it doesn't mean anything, but there's a lot of late nights. There's a lot of debates, arguments, questioning. Like there's a lot going on, and you always need to be on the ball. So you have to love it. And so, I mean, I got together with a couple of colleagues last year, and we wrote a book called How to Do What You Love for a Living Without Selling Your Soul. It was just a little test to see if we could get something on Amazon and see what it was like, really to get our expression, our thoughts out there. But what it actually uncovered was that if you're a teacher, then you've got to love teaching. If you are a policeman, then you generally have to like the community and like helping people around you. And in the same way, if you're in this industry, you have to like working really, really hard. I was going to say something else then. Working really, really hard and trying to capture people's emotions and really, really get them passionate about what you're passionate about.
That's great stuff. So what advice then, so many people, let's talk about this for a second. So many people talk about how difficult it is to get work, or, I know you're over in London in the UK. Sorry for my ignorance on this, everybody, but, in regards to economy, here in the States, everybody talks about the economy and the economy not being good and nobody paying for jobs what they used to. I don't know how much you deal with the economics of these jobs that are happening, but, talk a little bit about, one, standing out, what you feel it takes, like what has made you stand out from the crowd in an ever-crowded world of cinematographers, directors, DPs, producers, all these kind of people. What has made you stand out? And then the economy. Have you seen that has affected you personally, or the companies that you, or organizations that you've worked for? Like, I believe it's Natalie there, right there. Yep, that's right. The economy is bad here. So just talk about that. I mean, partly we talk about it being an excuse, but let's just hear your take on that.
Yeah, I mean, the economy stinks in the UK at the moment. Is crap. Like, and what's interesting is that my screen's just turned off, there we go. I came out of university in 2009. I remember my lecturer turning around and saying that you're going to get into the industry when it's at its toughest. We're going to hit a recession. And at the time, I was like, oh, really? Really? And I kind of looked around, and everyone really didn't understand what it meant. And it was only then, literally the first year I got out of uni, and then we started to see that obviously that we had the credit crunch back then, and then now the recession and everything going up and down, and job security going up and down. And I think my take on it is, if you're passionate enough about what you can do, then you need to think outside the box at the moment. So for instance, I use social media. Social media is my think outside the box. I am on Twitter, I'm on Facebook, I'm on LinkedIn, I'm on Vimeo, I'm on, what's the others? Something Square, Location Square, I can't remember what it's called. Showing my ignorance with that one. Foursquare, that's it. Any social media I can, any way that I can connect with other people. And then I produce, not only at work, but also outside of work. I do my own projects, which become almost the assets that sell myself. So if I'm not talking to someone, then hopefully they're looking at my show reel, or they're looking at a piece of work which someone else has liked and shared. And once you start making viral campaigns, so I mean, the 2 campaigns last year, one of which, as I said, 700, 900,000 hits, and then the second one, which was for adoption, that saw over, it's now just over 300,000 hits. And equally, the showreel, which you guys are linking very kindly, that's had 3,000 hits in just 3 weeks, and I even pushed it. And it's all about, I think, to answer your question, because I'm going a roundabout way of doing it, I think it's all about being passionate about what you do enough so that you can be creative with it, and so you can really stand out from the crowd and produce these assets that can sell your skills and what you're good at. Because there's too many people, I feel, or it's very easy to complain that there aren't many jobs around. There aren't many jobs around, but I've always felt that I've surrounded myself as well with people who have stuck at it and have got jobs in what is one of the most difficult areas and industries to get jobs in. So almost, if these people can do it, then everyone can do it.
And I think that's great advice, and I think something that I'm hearing of what you say that everybody needs to understand too. And again, anybody in guest mode, in the next about 10 minutes, we're going to take your questions, and not just the guests, but all of you guys, obviously. But if you're in guest mode, right below Mike, there's a submit a question. When you do that and you're in guest mode, it's going to ask you to log in via Facebook or Twitter. Mike's demo reel's up on the screen, and so, but you guys can start submitting your questions now because we'll take those the second half. But one thing that I want to point out to everybody is how I hear you taking action. You know, and I want to encourage everyone out there to take action. You didn't sit around, you're saying you do some stuff in your personal time. And so you hear so many guys say, well, somebody won't pay me to do that, or I haven't had any jobs for that. So thus they don't have it as a sample to then get work from. You're going out in your spare time, and you can talk about that. You're going out in your spare time and working on projects, and you're saying that's actually the stuff that's really helping you get more work. So talk about that and the encouragement for everybody to go out and take action and not just sit and wait for things to happen.
Yeah, sure, no problem. So, I mean, part of, so the agency, Nuco, the agency that I work with at the moment as head of film and video, we produce work for clients such as Conservative Home, Adidas, Reebok. We've just launched the branding and the animation for the new Simon Cowell psycho venture online called the U Generation. So that's almost like X Factor online. It's Simon Cowell's latest venture. So we get lots of cool stuff under our belt. But equally, 2 of the biggest campaigns which I worked on last year were 2 campaigns that I started to build teams and build in my own spare time. And that's for a couple of reasons. Probably one, because I'm a workaholic and I just work and work and work and work. And the other reason is probably because I'm passionate about what I do, and I start to see that what I'm doing is getting results. So, for instance, the adoption campaign, which I spoke about briefly before, so as I said, it's had about 300,000 hits online. That was for the European Union, sorry. And basically, it was a video which showed sorry, let me start again. So it was a video which was there to attach itself to the campaign, to share amongst Facebook and Twitter, and really get people thinking about this campaign and about the adoption rights that are troubling the rest of Europe. Now, we managed to get 5 different organisations on board with the campaign, and each of those were able to contribute with publicity and support and advice. And one of those was the organisation which I'm now going to work for in the US, called All Out. So actually, through working, I'll get to the point because I know I've gone roundabout and babbled. Basically, so basically, by actually going out of my way, being passionate about something, doing it in my spare time, has then actually led to a job opportunity. And although it didn't pay off for about, well, it did pay off because it's absolutely fantastic campaign. I never wanted to get a job out of it. But the final payoff was actually getting to join this amazing team in New York, and then coming back. So I'll be coming back to work in London with another member of the team. And All Out is fantastic. It's so innovative because it's got people based all over the world. So they've got people based in New York, now in London, France, Brazil, Australia. And it's all about building a network of activists who are using creativity in the right way. And I really wanted to be a part of that. And so yeah, that's my really, that you can go out of your way, do stuff in your spare time, really do that to sell yourself and build campaigns, and then you never know where those campaigns and the networks that you build from those will actually lead you.
And I'm going to bring up one of the questions that came up is they said if you have a job and do stuff in your spare time, when do you take a break? And I'm going to say something just to it, and I'm going to have your response. But to me, back to what you said, if you love what you do, it almost isn't work. And so, for me, I love everything that I'm doing right now. So the biggest difference between now and when I started my business is before I didn't stop ever. I mean, to do anything. I mean, even with friends or family, I just, quote unquote, worked. Even though I was loving it, I never stopped at all. And for me now, I still work all hours of the day, but if my brother wants to hang out or my family or whatever, I'll stop and go do it, or on the weekends I go see a movie or whatever. But you shouldn't look at it as a 9 to 5, and when 5 o'clock hits, oh, well, I guess I can't work on that in the evening because I've already worked today. So just talk about that for a second.
Yeah. I mean, you're spot on. I completely agree with you. And I kind of sum it up in two ways, really. Firstly, I don't think I've ever worked for free in my life. But I've sometimes not worked for money. And I think that's a really important lesson that I've learned over the last couple of years, that working for free doesn't necessarily mean you're not working for any money. If you're working and you can see you're getting yourself experience and you're getting these values which you can add to your career and to your portfolio, then you're not working for free. You've got everything to work for, because those things will then lead to other things. And the other way is balancing both experience with value. So once you've dedicated and got this experience, you're then worth more in value to a company. And I think that ethos, which I was told that about 6-7 years ago, and it stuck with me in my head, and I thought, you know what, this is right. You don't have to work for money, you work for experience. And yeah, the more experience you get, the more money you get. And that's how you can build up a career in what is a very difficult industry.
That is great stuff, guys. I hope you're all catching this. Again, for everybody, we've got Mike on here, and let's see. Let me link up again for everybody who's coming in late. I know we reiterate some things, guys, and I know some of you will hear it every single time. But some of you coming in late, there's Mike's demo reel in the chat. Just put that in there. I'll put it up on the screen too. And again, if you guys aren't on this page on expertinterrogations.com, I'm going to link that up too. And be sure to get on the email list. Basically, the big thing that everybody loves, and a lot will attest to it in the chat, we make sure we notify you the day of, like right before these calls happen. I know a lot of guys pop on because 10 minutes before we go live, we send you an email just saying, hey, we're about to go live, because I know everybody has busy schedules, and it's just a nice little reminder. So if you're on there at the very top or the bottom, you can see that to sign up. Also, there'll be a replay of this. So as soon as this is over, guys, you're going to be able to watch. If you missed the beginning of this call, you're going to be able to watch the replay. And if you go to the archives page, we have all the old calls there. Gosh, I don't know, there's 10 or 20 of them now. We haven't skipped a week since, I think, the beginning of February. Ish, and we've done 2 some weeks like we did this week. So we're super excited about this. And if you guys have other people that you'd love to see on here, I love reaching the unreachable and bringing awesome people to you guys so that we can pick their brains and get great insight. And then after the fact, when these calls are over, there's always a timestamp of all the questions we discussed, so that you guys can go straight to those questions in the call. And again, we're going to take your questions here in about 5 minutes, guys. So start queuing them up. Below Mike, there's a submit a question button. When you do that, if you're in guest mode, it's going to say, log in via Facebook or Twitter, and you'll be good to go. And so start getting your questions in for him. I'm going to ask him a few more things, and then we're going to do that. There's a fun little question real quick, not relevant, but where is Mike? Love the beach chairs. Natalie said.
Shall I answer that? Yeah. Yeah, I can see that question there. This is the creative room at Nuco. So we have got down in the basement. We had this really dull, dismal basement, and we decided to turn it into a creative room. So behind me we've got a Nuco whiteboard, and we can basically scroll all over the walls. Basically that entire wall back there is a whiteboard, and we've themed it as a garden because we believe at Nuco that you do all your best ideas when you're outside, although we're in a basement. So we mocked it all up. We did put some nice fake grass on the floor, but I think health and safety meant we had to pick it up again, which was a bit unfortunate. But yeah, it's an amazing room, and I thought, why not sit down here and chat to you?
That's great, my friend. Well, I think another great thing that you pointed out was that so many people take for granted, especially nowadays. I mean, there's older guys on here, there's younger guys on here, but sometimes people think they're entitled to things. You know, they should go to university, or they should go to school, or they should do whatever, and they should immediately be at the top. And they forget that every one of us started somewhere. I mean, to really get to places of extreme success, and you always got to keep learning. But that the reality is, you on some level, whether you did start your own company or you work for somewhere, you've got to pay your dues, and you've got to be willing to go out there and hustle. And, you know, you talked about going out there, and nothing's really free. It's experience. And I think that that's so powerful for people to take away, is you've got to be willing to go out there, and no matter what level you're at in your career, you can always continue to learn. You can always continue to do a little pro bono job here or there. You know, just add, you know, what a couple other things that you did early on to kind of get your foot in the door at some places.
For me, it was always about building up my portfolio because although I've got tremendously supportive parents, my parents have been absolutely incredible in the support network that I think is essential when you're going into a difficult career. But they always told me the truth, and they told me that I needed to work bloody hard if I wanted to do something that most people don't do. Like, most people choose, oh, I'm going to give up on that dream, I'm going to do something that everyone else does. So what I chose to do, what was drummed into me, was to get as much experience as possible. So for instance, I used to get up at 5 o'clock in the morning and do the local radio station. So I went down, used to make the tea, and then after a couple of months, got a gig as reading the news. So I become a newsreader on the local radio station. Then that moved to the bigger radio news, the bigger station in the county. And again, reading the news, writing the bulletins, going out and doing reporting. And then I also worked for Thomson Reuters up in London, which is basically, it's a news agency, Newswire, and that was a lovely big name to add to my portfolio. And I was working on the features desk there, and so I was working on the features desk. Now, features isn't my thing. Like, I enjoy writing, and if I was a journalist, then I probably would be able to write okay. But my thing is video, and my thing is creativity. So I pushed while I was at Reuters. I think I was like 16 years old, and I pushed to join the video team. And so I went to go out and do different things and interview people, and then I saw my work, which was being used all over the world on the Reuters Newswire, and there was just tremendous experience. I know that we, I think it's called Last FM, and I'm not sure if it's working, if it's still up and running, but it was massive. I think I've got that name right. It was massive, probably about 3, 4, 5 years ago. And when it was first sort of coming out with apps and iPhone apps, and we went to go and interview the guys in London for that app when it first launched, and that was part of Reuters, and I was probably just about sort of 16, 17 years old, and yeah, that was all for free. I didn't get paid for that, but then it was all the experience that I was getting, and I think it's important when we're talking about free work to build experience that you also make sure that you are protected. So for instance, everywhere I went, I tried to get as much compensation back in terms of expenses. So if I was getting the train every day to London and I wasn't earning any money, how am I going to afford a travel card every day? Like, there's practical things there. So I asked, and normally if you ask and you're not taking the mick, then people will be more than happy to cater for covering your costs. for you actually then coming and giving your skills and your skill sets to them. So I think it's a two-way thing really as well. So for instance, at Nuco, we well, I say just, about 6 months ago, we took on a college graduate. So he hasn't even been here yet. But he's not going to uni because well, so he says, his eye for quality and detail is absolutely fantastic. He can shoot better video than I can. And that's just a natural skill that he's got. So if you've got someone that talented and he's chosen to not go into the university life, to go into the world of work and work 3 years when other people were studying, it's so flexible. And I think as someone working in a company and trying to inspire new talent, I think that's important to recognize that you have to kind of nurture that talent and realize when you've got it and look after it. So now he was working for us as a work experience person for probably about a month. Then the next month he was on a contract with us, and then now he's on a permanent contract with us. So he really earned his dues and built his way up, and that's important. That's really important to kind of prove that you're worth something.
You know, that's actually a huge thing that I think in the arts and entertainment space, just in general, how really it's 50-50 on whether or not you want to go to school or you choose to not go to school. Because I think that there's benefits to both avenues depending on the person and who you are, but it's one of those industries that you really don't have to go. It's really about the person and their drive, and some people, like you're saying, just have that natural gift. I actually chose not to. I started my production company when I was 19, right out of high school. I didn't go to college, university, film school, or anything like that. And it was just all hard work, dedication, focus, and just constantly getting experience, going to, seminars, going to different things, and just training as much as I can. So, guys, here we're going to start taking your questions. So if you want to submit your questions, right below Mike, just click Submit a Question. If you're in guest mode, it'll ask you to log in via Facebook or Twitter. You'll be good to go. Also, guys, since we got, the peak right now, there'll be people still popping in on and off. But, guys, you should be able to start accessing these calls in the future on your mobile device. I'm not sure which ones it was working on before, but I know it was not working on iPhones and iPads. And there is an app that you can download on the iPhone and iPad now. So you just go to the App Store, type in Spreecast, and you should be able to download that. Also on expertinterrogations.com, you'll be able to, you should be able to hit play. I just checked it on my phone, and I was able to hit play and start watching the call. So that's pretty cool. So I just want to make sure you guys know that in the future. A lot of you are traveling or in the car, and you'll be able to still catch these. And then again, obviously there's always the replays. And like I said, if you aren't on the email list that I just put in the chat, whoops, I think I missed it. You guys can go ahead and join there, and we'll always keep you notified of future calls. Next week with Griffin Hammond, we're going to be giving away our GoPro. He's from Indie Mogul on YouTube, and he'll be on Tuesday. So get your questions in, guys, and let's start taking those. So thank you, Mike, for being here today, and I'm excited that everybody's on here and enjoying the call. So thank you. All right, here we go. So Ken White says, do you think spoon-fed television and online video will completely merge, or do you see them spreading further apart as two different markets?
So do I think spoon-fed television and online video will merge? Is that? Sorry, I couldn't quite hear the question.
Yeah, it's on the screen too. If you look at the screen, you should be able to reread them there. Do you think spoon-fed television and online video will completely merge, or do you see them spreading further apart?
I think television needs to move in the right direction. Otherwise, it will move further apart. But, for instance, as I was talking, a project I was talking about just before, the U generation with Simon Cowell, this is something that Nuco have jumped on. We've done the branding and the animations for. That's all about the future of television. So if you look at YouTube as a product, they're setting up YouTube labs in both LA, London, I think they've got a couple of others over the world, and they're about nurturing the young talent, the talent that's building up audiences on YouTube. So these guys will be the new presenters of the future. So if you look at the Guinness World Records, they've got a channel We've got the U generation, which Nuco have done the branding for. That's got a channel. And it's all about you finding that next bit of talent. And so, for instance, I think we all remember when we used to watch T4 on Channel 4. Sorry, I've lost my train of thought. Yeah, T4 on Channel 4. You've got those presenters. You're building up those personalities. I'm sure it's the same all over the world. You've got these young, talented presenters. And so what we're doing now is seeing that these YouTube stars are actually becoming the presenters of tomorrow. And that's so fascinating because as a content creator such as myself, I'm always looking for that next way of building an audience and collaborating with people to build bigger audiences. So I think if everyone's sensible and they follow the way that Google, YouTube and Facebook want to go, then we will see a merger definitely, especially with the introduction of smart televisions. We'll see a merger of online and TV content, and that's only when the quality of the online content gets better and better and better, and that's what these labs in London and LA, these YouTube labs are for. They're to build up the quality of the content. So yeah, I hope that answers the question.
Perfect. Great. If you need a follow-up there, Ken, just put it in the questions. We're going to keep moving along. Travis, thanks for being on the call, man. We truly appreciate it. He says, I noticed you have video ads below your portfolio on your website. How much dollars are you actually able to make from these, and have they been a distraction to your clients?
Okay. I'm not going to talk numbers, but I will say what is good and what's advisable. If you've got a video which is getting less than 10,000 hits, and that's going to be the majority of your content online, don't put advertising on it because it's very, very distracting. And I think it, as a creative, it completely ruins, it can ruin the audience's attention. You want them to concentrate on the message, on the emotion that you're trying to give them. But I will say that if you're getting a video that's getting 400,000 or 500,000 hits and above, it's well worth putting an advert on there and looking at the ways that YouTube is trying to monetize content for creators. Because if you can build yourself a big audience that you can then launch your content through, you can actually self-fund by then using YouTube as a device for advertising. And that's something that YouTube is investing more and more in. There's more and more options and more variety of the ways that you can advertise with video. You can now actually use video as an advert on YouTube. So for instance, if you've got a client that doesn't want to have the budget for television advertising, they can have the budget to actually put their content as an advertisement on YouTube. And you've always seen them before. They annoy most people. You click and then it says you can skip this video in 5 seconds or you can watch it to the end. If you watch it to the end, then the content creator of that video gets paid. And that's really important because then that's, as a person who makes advertising, I think you need to make advertising that connects more and more with people, because you're trying to, for instance, on television, you have to watch the adverts, but online at the moment, someone can click off your advert in 5 seconds, so it's really important to grab their attention. Yeah, I can't quite remember the question. I think I've diverted straight the way off it, but hopefully I've stayed there.
No. I think Travis said thanks for the answer. He said great answer. So I think you answered
Excuse me.
for him. And thank you all, everybody who's popping on, guys. Get your questions in right below Mike. You'll be able to submit your question. We're taking those right now. So we're going to keep moving along. So appreciate everybody being here. Super pumped for you guys. And if you're in guest mode, just log in via Facebook or Twitter. And love to see some of the guys on mobile devices now today. This is a first. You marked the first day of people being on with mobile phones, so it's pretty cool. At least on this platform, that is. All right, Scott, he says, could you go over some of your methods in finding new team members and criteria you personally have when hiring someone, particularly someone you don't already know?
Okay. I think what I look for first, so we get quite a lot of CVs that land on our desks, and I think that the first thing that I look for is a portfolio online. It's someone who's already, therefore you can then see if that person's already producing creative content, content that's there to be engaged, and not necessarily content that connects with me because maybe they're not making content for me. I think if they're making content that disconnects with me, that's not a problem because maybe they're making content for another audience, and that means they're doing their job really well. So yeah, I look for a really strong portfolio online, a good understanding of strategy, of target audience. So many filmmakers and creatives make film, put it out there, and then say, well, why is this not racking up hundreds of thousands of hits? And it's normally because there's no clear audience, and then you ask them, well, what's your target audience? And they say, oh, everyone. And then you go, well, if you're targeting everyone, then you're targeting no one, because that's the method of video. You need to be really, really honed in and precise. It's the same with any kind of creative content. So yeah, so I look for a really strong portfolio, a good idea of strategy, and fulfilling client objectives. Working with high-profile clients, that's something which I look for as well. But also just an ability of someone who I think has demonstrated that they've gone outside the box, that they really want to do this, and that they've made a success of themselves. And also people who set up their businesses really, really young. So for instance, if people are coming out and they've set up businesses when they're like 18, 19, and then they're now joining companies. A lot of my friends have said, like, oh, I'm really nervous about joining an agency or a company because, well, I've only owned my own business, so I haven't worked for anyone else. And I'm like, well, you're fantastic. You understand everything to do with sort of profit, revenue, like losses, how everything's meant to go with invoicing. Like, you understand everything that there is to do with running a business, aside from being a fantastic content producer. So if you've owned your own business as well, you owned your own freelance business, to me that's a plus. You've got such a good step up and understanding. And in terms of building teams, I look for different kind of skill sets. So for instance, I'll look for people who are producers, who can come on board and really kind of get on board with the schedule, get on board with getting people there on time. I love collaborating with hairstylists and with makeup artists and people who can do so much more than I can with a blusher. I don't know what I'm doing, so that's great. And equally, people who are fantastic actors, people who are brilliant through camera, people who have a good eye for detail, editors that can really push the dynamic of what you're producing. And I think that's something that Nuco have very strong, and something that I'd like to always take with me. What I've tried to instill here is a really great idea of what makes a good edit. Editors here are absolutely fantastic. They push back and they push boundaries, and therefore the edits really stand up for themselves. And we've developed a kind of style now that when you look at one of our films, you go, that's a Nuco film, or that's a film by Mike, or that's a film by the guys here. Like, it's a style, it's a visual style, and that's all about building a brand really as well. So yeah, it's really I think you can sum it up by being proactive. If someone's proactive and it comes across on a CV and they've got an online portfolio, then it's wicked. Like, that's such a brilliant step up.
Perfect. Well, our right-hand man here, Mr. Chris Simmons, is driving. Unfortunately, I shouldn't be talking in such a happy voice about what I'm about to say, but he's driving to a funeral, I believe, of his grandfather. And his son, Alec, I guess, is in the car, and he doesn't believe that this is live right now.
Just read, yeah. This is live.
This is live, Alec. Hello. So we'll talk one more second really quickly on how you're reaching out to these people. I don't know if I missed that. I was kind of doing stuff in the chat and everything else. Are you reaching out via Twitter? And how's that introduction look for somebody you don't know?
Yeah, well, a great example is the composer, which I work with. He's called Craig Sutherland. He's fantastic. Google his name, Craig Sutherland, absolute genius. He's a really young guy. He's probably about, I think he's 22, 23. Maybe he's older and he looks good. And his work is absolutely fantastic. So he got in touch with me through Twitter, and a lot of the feeds do come through Twitter. Some come through LinkedIn, and a lot of them are through sort of connections of people. It happens almost organically. I realize how many people you're being connected with, because people recommend your work to other people, and especially when you start producing viral campaigns, your work starts getting out there and hitting America. I remember when Homecoming hit America, the views just went absolutely nuts and it blew us all away, and that brought a little more contacts of people who want to get involved in future projects. But a great example is Craig Sutherland, the composer, and he has, since working with me on a very early film, he has worked with me on every film we've done since then. And again, in the early stages, there was no budget for him. He just did it to build up his own experience, his own portfolio, and his value as a composer. And then through getting on board with these bold campaigns, he uses it for his own publicity. But his work really stands out from the crowd, and that is what initially got me. His work is just, I mean, you get composers that are good, you get composers that are just normal, that follow the crowd, and you get people like Craig. And his work, he's so diverse. And I know I'm doing a big old advert for Craig Sutherland, but his work is so diverse. Like, he's done work for us for Adidas, he's done work for us for McCarthy and Stone, which is a huge retirement home in it's a chain of retirement homes for older people in the UK, and we produced a really emotive advert for them. He's done stuff for Homecoming, Invisible Parents, the lobbying and the activism stuff that I've done last year, and it's always so different. It's always diverse, and I think someone just said there, a great composer is worth their weight in gold, and it really is true. So I'd recommend checking out his work, because especially his stuff, when you don't give him a brief and you just tell him to go nuts on something, and you get pure Craig Sutherland, like, that is absolutely fantastic. So yeah, question: how do I connect with people? Through Twitter. Twitter's the main way that people talk to me, and I talk to people.
Well, and that's how we started this call here, is simply the fact.
Exactly. Yeah.
Reached out on Twitter, and guys, I always say the worst thing that's going to happen is you get a no, and you get a no when you don't ask. So you at least have the opportunity for good things to happen when you try. I mean, I can't tell you how many times I've reached out to people, or I've done something where things haven't happened, or they didn't reply, but you can't let that get you down. I know so many people out there, it's like, I challenge you all right now, like, when you get off this call, if there's something you've been holding back from sending that email, tweeting that person, reaching out to that person on LinkedIn or whatever, just do it. Just go and send a simple message and see what happens. And it's not always going to be the result that you think, which is, or hope for, I guess, but you never know. And at least by trying, you have opportunities. So I encourage you all to do that. Let's keep rocking and rolling here. Let's see here. Should be popping up in just a sec. Maybe not. See. 1 sec. All right. Steve, what's up, buddy? Thanks for being on the call today, my man. And if you had to leave, I'm not sure if he's still on the call. Keith, if you could, and that's one of the benefits, guys, of being a member of Create Insights, which I've linked up here a number of times. When you're a member of Create, like right now, I believe Steve, unless he pops back up, had to leave the call. But what we'll do is our assistant will email him the timestamp of where we answered his question. And so, it's super, super, super great. And that way, you guys, if you have to leave the calls early or whatnot, you can still, know that we answered your questions. So, Keith, just make sure you email him. He says, Mike, I think you hit the nail on the head. If you do what you love in your spare time, you will succeed, because it's never about charging, but for doing what you love. What are your thoughts? And I think that's all he has. Just what are your thoughts on, just doing what you love? And he kind of talked about that earlier, but just kind of hit on it again.
Sorry, you slightly broke up there. Was it about doing what you love for a living?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Just absolutely.
Summarize. I think that the question is spot on. Like, it's so important to do what you love for a living. If you are, for instance, we wrote a book last year called How to Do What You Love for a Living Without Selling Your Soul. And it was all these little tricks that we picked up over just a couple of years in the industry. But to be honest, what's most important is, if you're a police officer, then you're someone who loves looking after people, looking after the community. If you are a customer service person in a supermarket, you're someone who loves looking after someone and treating customers and making people feel good. If you're a lollipop man, then you're someone who enjoys looking after the safety of children. And in the same way, if you are in the video industry, you are quite sadistic and you enjoy working really, really hard, and sometimes for little gain, just to get that smile on someone's face when they watch your material, and the smile on your face as well when you see it. I think if you do what you love, everyone has to work in the UK, or everyone has to work all over the world unless you're one of the lucky people that don't. So there's no real getting out of it. You have to have a job. So why not have a job that you enjoy? To me, it's like a no-brainer. I don't really understand people who, like, on a Sunday night, sometimes I'll sit with my friends and we'll go to the pub, a couple of friends, all of us, and a couple of them will say, oh, I really don't want to go to work tomorrow. I'm like, why? You are in your, like, what's it called? Your early 20s, you are newly graduate, you're very successful in what you do. Why do you not want to go to work? And some of these people have got very, very, what is considered high-power jobs. So why don't they enjoy it? It just doesn't make any sense to me. So the question is spot on. Like, you have to love what you do. Otherwise, what's the point in doing it?
Perfect, 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 perfect. All right, let's see here. Blaine Corey says, talk to us about the process you go through to pool the necessary resources and support needed to get these campaigns you've started in your free time off the ground. How does the conversation go with individuals and companies and organizations? Are there monetary contributions involved, or just people or offering their own?
There is available for someone, especially when you're starting out. And I still try to not narrow myself down too much. I know what I love to do. I love to direct. I love to produce. I love to shoot. I love to edit. I love to build campaigns. I love to lead teams. And that's part of what is a director, in my opinion, is inspiring a team to build a vision. So that's what I would consider myself at the moment. Who knows what will happen tomorrow? My ethos, as I said before, is as long as tomorrow I'm doing something that I enjoy, it doesn't matter what my job title is, and it doesn't matter what I'm doing, as long as I'm enjoying it. And it'll probably be video or some kind of creative thing, because that's what I like.
And I think there's a great point and a takeaway. Being a jack of all trades isn't necessarily a bad thing, and obviously some say I totally agree about being. It also helps knowing how to better troubleshoot different things, especially if you're managing people. But I think the big takeaway from Mike, everybody, is it's not that you have to focus on one thing or you have to not be the jack of all trades. He's obviously encouraged to be. But I think the bigger takeaway is to do what you love out of it. So if being the jack of all trades, you're doing 8 things, but 6 of them you hate, then you probably need to figure out how you can have other people help you with those things that you hate. So even though, and you still might like 4 or 5 things, and I think that's fine. I think that's the point, is being a jack of all trades is fine in the sense of you need to still do what you love. And if you love all those things, because I have a friend that really struggles because he does really like to direct. He really does like to shoot and edit. And he doesn't want to commit to just directing or to just shooting. And some will say, well, he can't succeed fully because he doesn't commit to one of those things, but he loves them all. And so I think that, talk about that for 1 second before we take the next one. Do you feel that you can still have major success in all these different areas that you may love, or do you choose certain areas at certain times? Like, what would you say there for him?
I would say it depends what kind of industry that you're in. If you're in the film industry, if you're in the television industry, I think you need to specialize a lot earlier on, because the online video and creative industry is very wide at the moment. I think you're better off sticking being a jack of all trades if you're sticking with the online stuff, turning your hand to more than one thing, and I think you'll go further in the online spectrum at the moment. It'll pretty soon, give it another 5 years, it'll probably narrow itself down as well. So if you're with television and film, I fully understand that it's important to stick at one thing and be that specialist. But in the same way, it's important to be a specialist in the subject that you choose. So for instance, a lot of the work which I've done over the last year is to do with gay rights, and that was a big question for me. I was like, do I want to specialize myself in something which I'm passionate about but will be a big stamp on my portfolio? And undoubtedly it's a yes, because that step has been a massive step in my career. It's taught me so much about all the experiences which I've been thrown into over the last year. And consequently, I've chosen to specialize even more, because the organization I'm going to in the US, called All Out, it specializes in gay rights. But it's the way that they use the activism in a creative way that is also really inspiring to me. So I think specializing is important, whatever industry you go into, or area of video or creativity you go into. At the moment, it's more apparent if you go into television, because you have to specialize very earlier on.
Perfect. All right, Natalie says, roughly how much time does it take you to bring a short film from idea to finished project?
It depends how much free time I've got, because a lot of the stuff is in my free time. But on average, I would say probably about 2 to 3 months. It depends. If it's a viral campaign, maybe a little bit longer. The key with a viral campaign is not the film, but the thinking and the preparation you do. I shot a film last year when it snowed in the UK. I've got 2 little dogs, and I just filmed them in the garden, and they were playing around in the snow. That took 5 to film. It took an evening to edit. It then took 2 weeks to plan where I was going to seed it out to, and then I seeded it out, and it went viral. It had, well, viral. It had sort of 40,000 hits in its first week online, which was fantastic for a little film about 2 little dogs playing in the snow. So you don't necessarily have to focus all your energy on the content. It's also the preparation around that content which takes its time. So probably 3 months is an average.
Perfect. Ellis says, so where do you get your motive or your drive from?
Oh, I think, I don't know. I get inspired by everything. I'll watch a film, I'll see an image, I'll see people that, if I see people excited about my work, that makes me even more excited to do better. And also, if I get constructive criticism, that's a big lesson I've had to learn, is listening to that and getting better through that. But where I get my drive from, I think from my parents as well. Both my parents are very driven people. My whole family is quite driven. We're all a bit workaholics, really. You can't help it.
Perfect. Great. Good stuff. All right. Vince, another insider. Appreciate you being on the call today, buddy. Thanks so much. He says, do you ever get a creative block? And he says, if so, what do you look for inspiration? You know, all of us have those times where it's just like, what the heck? And so what do you do to get out of those slumps?
Yeah, I think the one person who can testify for that is my partner. Sometimes I'll just be sitting there and making them go absolutely crazy, because all I want to do is think about this idea, and nothing's happening, and I've got creative block, and it's a big issue, and yeah, it causes problems. But I think if you're a creative, you'll always be obsessed with that next bit, and as soon as you come up with something, you're going to hate it because you want to produce something better. It's natural, and I think you need to, I know that sometimes I'm not, and I struggle with it, but you need to understand that creative block is a natural process of coming up with a nice idea, or an amazing idea. So in terms of inspiration, sometimes I use Vimeo a lot, Vimeo. I create lookbooks on Vimeo and Pinterest and basically try to get as much inspiration and look at other people's work. It's not a crime to look at other people's work and see how you can replicate that, but in a different way, and pull ideas together. It's not copying, it's inspiration.
Well, I love that too, Mike. I think a big thing, and I was just looking at a thing from, let's see if I can find that here, from Tim Ferriss, that I really love. And the aspect is, this is something you guys should definitely check out on productivity. I mean, if you haven't read The 4-Hour Workweek, it's a great book. But there's certain things that you just have to accept. So many of us want to fight certain things, like thinking that we should never have that creative block, or that we'll never procrastinate, or we'll never do these certain things, and so we fight it, when in reality, like Tim says, he plans for it. He accepts it. And sometimes if he's going through that creative block, instead of fighting it, he just steps away for a few days. He'll be more productive to just step away. And like Richard Branson, which I'm sure you've heard say, you learn more or get more inspired by getting out, take a walk, go for a bike ride, go to the movie, go do these different things and step away. And then that's going to allow you to refresh yourself. And a couple days later, you can come back and you'll actually be more refreshed than if for those 3 days you sat there and kept beating yourself up. And so would you agree with that?
Oh yeah, 100%. And I think I can learn a little bit from that too, because I think it's important to know your weaknesses, and one of my weaknesses is definitely worrying about creative block and worrying when I can't come up with an idea. So I need to take a leaf out of Richard Branson's book, and I do. I go for walks. I go take the dog for a walk. I go to the cinema. I go out. I try and do something. I watch a film. Listen to music. And 9 times out of 10, I'll get even more frustrated because I still can't come up with an idea. But creative block is a natural stage, I believe, in the creative process, and you've got to go through it to get to the other side.
Yep. Let's see here. Trevor Hughes, we welcome you here, man. Insider. I believe he's in somewhat of your neck of the woods. Might be in Sweden. I'm not sure, Trevor, if you're still listening, my friend. Welcome, and thanks for being here. He says, hi, Mike. What are your views after making a short film, put it out on YouTube or send to festivals? I think, what are your views in the sense, not how many plays, but what is a strategy for you maybe, after you finish a short film? What do you do with it?
Sure. I know a lot of filmmakers who like to hold back and not put their films online and choose to inject it into the festival network. And I know a lot of festivals won't take your work if it has been published online. So I think it's all to do with the kind of work that you're producing. Say, for instance, the short film starring Mark, the actor, Mark Fillamore, Jouet, that won the London Limelight Film Awards last year. That was a film that could have made more of in the festival network. Whereas, for instance, the majority of my work is made for a viral audience. It's made to get out there, an online YouTube audience. So therefore, I'm not going to stick it in the festivals because that's not what it's designed to do. So I think you've got to look at what your work is designed to do and the results you're looking to get from that. And for instance, if it's a film, then hold back, don't put it online, or put it into online film festivals and things like that. Really kind of spread out and know where your target audience are accessing their creative content, and make sure that your creative content is in those places.
Perfect. That Armadillo, I believe he's still on the call here. Welcome. He says, how much does age factor into your hiring and crew decisions?
My experience is that age is never a factor when I'm hiring. It's all to do with experience and how much value you can bring to the project or to the role. I have never, as well, I believe, been judged for my age. Sometimes if I'm going to do a big pitch, especially when I first started, so I'll be like 21, 22, I might wait a couple of days and grow a bit of a beard, or put some glasses on, or like just look a little bit older, because it's a sad fact of life that sometimes you're taken more seriously the older that you look, until you hit that other stage, and then you start to be taken less seriously. But we're not thinking about that stage. We're dealing with this. So for me, age is never an issue or a factor that comes into it. It's more about how much they can, what value they can bring to that project or the role.
And guys, that's a consistent theme that you'll see across all of our expert interrogations. And again, guys, we've just got a couple questions left, and we're going to be finishing this up. But if you're not on expertinterrogations.com, I just put it in the chat. And you can please submit and suggest an expert, anybody that you'd love to see on these calls. We'll make it happen as best as we can, guys. Not a lot of you take advantage of it. You come here, there's 50 to 80 to 100 of you every week. And more that watch the replays, and you don't take advantage of submitting people you'd like to see. I feel it's a perfect example of the fact that people don't take action. I'm sure that a lot of you are sitting here going, oh, I wish I could hear from this person or that person. And we're not just trying to keep to just the film industry either. I mean, I have some plans to get some guys outside the film industry too that can bring enormous value and insight. And value is that key word that I was going to say that across our expert interrogations, which again you can see there on the archives page, is value and caring. You know, if you stand out from the crowd and you care more and bring more value than the other guy, it doesn't matter how old you are. I mean, I've heard things. My brother's a big golfer, and there's been like 14-year-old kids making it into the U.S. Open and in these big tournaments that only people have probably, you know, 25 years old or older have made it into before. Now there's 14-year-olds because they're just that good. And I think that that's the thing, guys. Age is becoming less and less of something that's an identifying factor. I mean, there's 19-year-olds not making stuff happen, and there's 19-year-olds making things happen. Freaking Clint Eastwood's at the other end of the spectrum at 80-some-odd years old, I think almost 90, and he's still crushing it. So, guys, it's all about you. In choosing to stand out. So let's get to these final questions, and let's see what we got here. So Stephen Hughes says, if football is what I love, but I want to be a lawyer, what should I do?
Okay. So if football is what you love and you want to be a lawyer, or you are a lawyer, sorry, but I want to be a lawyer. Well, if you want to be a lawyer, then you must enjoy it. Otherwise, you wouldn't want to do it. So, but if you love football as well, then try and make a career out of it. And if you can't make a career out of it, then do it at the weekends, or do it in the evening, or start up a club, or do something that inspires you. I think the answer is actually in the question, because you said that you want to be a lawyer, and unless that's a typo, it is that you want to do something, you love it.
And that's the key, guys. You know, there's no question to doing what you want in life if you love it. And so no matter what it is, you know, you're saying you love football, but the question is, do you also love being a lawyer? Or is that just something you think you have to do? Because I think that's what Mike is saying. It's not about, you know, if you want to be a lawyer, he's assuming also that you love or enjoy the action and that thought of being a lawyer, and not just the aspect of the money that it's going to make you.
Yeah, and Stephen, if you don't like being a lawyer, don't be a lawyer, because law is, for me, I mean, I like law, but I could never do it for a living.
There's a great one from Natalie. How about a lawyer for football players? You could be a lawyer for football players.
Yeah.
So that's perfect. That's perfect.
Natalie's quite chatty tonight.
She is. Is she a friend of yours?
Yeah, she is, yeah.
Okay. All right. Perfect. Cheers. All right. Fat Armadillo again says, tell us about how you evaluate a sponsorship deliverable.
Right. Tell us how you evaluate a sponsorship deliverable. I think I understand what that means. I'm going to basically, I understand it to mean, how would you value how much a sponsorship is worth? I think that's what. Do you think that's what it means? I'm a little confused as to what the question means.
Fat and Armadillo, are you in the chat? It looks like you're still on the call. If you're listening, we might have to skip it if you can't follow up. But if you can, follow up with just a little bit in the chat for us really quick of what you mean by your question. And that's Fat Armadillo. If you're listening, we'll count down 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Give your answer, Mike, and we're going to move on to what you think the question means.
Okay, so I think it means how do you value how much a sponsorship is worth? And to me, it's all about not just the financial side that they can bring, but also, as I was saying earlier, like many of the sponsors of the campaigns in the charitable side have got they've got press teams, they've got press advice, they've got expert tips and tricks on how to build campaigns. And in effect, they know their audience inside out because they deal with them every single day. So if you're building a campaign, a video campaign for breast cancer, for instance, and you attract, and you go to a breast cancer charity, they know their audience far better than you do. So that's how I evaluate a sponsorship: is how much can they bring to the project in terms of their audience numbers and their advice, and equally how much they can bring financially as well, if that's the case.
Perfect, and I think you answered it right. And I was looking at the chat here, or the screen queue, and not seeing some of this. So his name is Clinton. We won't identify him as Fat Armadillo anymore. We'll try to remember that for the future, Clinton. So we appreciate that, and I think you answered his question properly. And he was saying how he started and he's 47 now, and I'm assuming you're rocking and rolling, man. And then another question we've got coming up here, and I didn't notice him sooner, and I've got to call him out, and we're going to have him on in the future, is Douglas Spotted Eagle. If you're in the chat listening, my friend, we're going to get to your question here. It's going to be pretty much the final one that we're going to take. We've got 2 left here. This is the last one. But Douglas Spotted Eagle was my mentor before I even got out of high school. I used to follow him. I'm a big Sony Vegas editor, and he trained me and helped me on Sony Vegas. And, I'm a lot to where I am today because of him. So it's exciting to see him joining us on the call today. So 2 questions left. We've got Priya's, I believe. Let's see here. Indian movies / videos are loved by the whole world. Have you ever thought to work with Indian movies?
I haven't actually ever thought to work with an Indian director or to work within sort of the Indian spectrum. I think, there's been some amazing work recently. So, for instance, Slumdog Millionaire, of combining sort of Western and Eastern cultures together in film. And that's something that really fascinates me, is kind of the clash of cultures. I love it. I love London, I love New York, I love these cities that are clashes of cultures, because you can pick up so many different things. To answer your question, no, I've never done an Indian film, but I would love the opportunity to see how we can sort of clash cultures, have an Indian influence in future films that I put together. And I don't just want to do campaigns, I do want to start making short films and short adverts again. So that's definitely going to be a theme for me, is a clash of cultures.
Hey, and for any of you guys who haven't seen, I'm going to link up here again a couple things for you before we finish this up. I just linked up his demo reel again. Here's Mike's website. We love giving plugs to the people on our calls, and if you guys want to help share his 946,000 viewed campaign video, I've put that in the chat too. So there's all links in the chat one final time for Mike, and do that and give me a chance, Priya says. So we appreciate everybody being on the call. We've got 1 call left from the man, the myth, the legend, Mr. Douglas Spotted Eagle, my good pal there. Like I said, we're going to have him on in the future, and we appreciate everybody being on the call today. As soon as this call is over, there's going to be a replay, and again on the archives page, you can watch all the old calls. There's a lot of great calls there, guys. I just put that in the chat. If you guys want to suggest an expert for future calls, please do so. And you can see a timestamp from every question that we have asked during these calls. And we're here for you guys saw a big gap in the industry of people being able to interact and ask people questions and get answers to help their own businesses. And so as video professionals, and so that's what we're here for. We appreciate your support. If you guys are loving this and you've really enjoyed this today, please share it on Facebook. Please share it on Twitter. We would truly appreciate it. Right above the call, there's a tweet and share button, and just give it a big shout out there. Awesome. All right, good. Douglas Spot Eagle, we got your question, my friend. Here we go. Let's ask the last one. So he said, what kind of technical differences do you observe during production when producing for the web versus broadcast?
Okay. So what kind of technical differences do I observe during the production stages when producing for web or for broadcast? Well, I think the one difference is, the one main difference is the quality of content. So for instance, on the web, you can get away with shooting, for instance, you shoot with a DSLR, or you can shoot with Reds if you want to. Equally, there is cameras now that's completely blowing up the market called the Blackmagic cameras, the Blackmagic 4K cameras that are cinema quality. And they're affordable cameras as well. So in terms of the differences, you have for instance the DSLRs, which are great for web, but for instance the BBC do not approve these cameras. So for instance, if you have content that's filmed on DSLR, it's quite difficult to get it on the BBC. So it's really, again, it's about thinking about where your content's going to be shown, where your target market is actually viewing their content, and then making sure that your content, whatever it is, talking video or film, is actually up to scratch. And I just wanted to quickly say before we finish that aside from this question, that Natalie Davis, you can check her out at Pen Behind Ear on Twitter. She's a fantastic.
Can you link that up? Some of the things that you've said. Can you link up? Can you link up Clinton, or I think it was Clinton? Link up your composer friend, and link up anybody else you want to link up in the chat, so people can easily find them. I know that there's some.
So that's Craig Sutherland. Yep, the composer. So we got Natalie Davis. She's the writer. She's fantastic, and she has recently written a book which is on Amazon at the moment. It's absolutely fantastic. If you Google her name, have a look. She's been a friend of mine for ages, and we kind of do creative thinking together. She's amazing. And equally, if you want to, because I've banged on about Twitter, if you actually want to follow me on Twitter, that's my Twitter handle, Videographer88, and it would be great to connect more after the show.
And Douglas, I don't know if that answers your question. Please follow up, buddy, if you have anything else there. And guys, same thing here. If you want to follow us, we're doing a lot of updates. It's at Create Insights. There's one other thing I wanted you to connect with. The book you've mentioned a few times that you've written. Is that available on Amazon? Where can people get that? If you want to look that up for us, that'd be great.
It's called, give me 1 second. It's called How to Do What You Love for a Living Without Selling Your Soul. And I'll just find the link now. So basically this was a book which I wrote with a couple of friends of mine. And it was all about the struggles of the industry, because in the industry, as I was talking about, it's all about not working for free, because everyone's obsessed with you don't want to work for free, but in terms of money. But actually what's important is working for free in terms of experience. So if you're getting experience, you're getting more credits to your name, you're then building up your value, and then your value is worth more to a company. And it was this kind of idea, I think it's right there. It's called How to Do What You Love for a Living Without Selling Your Soul. It was written about a year ago, and it was just really a kind of eureka moment for me, and there's some contributions from other directors in there too. But that book was designed not just for people in the media industry, but people in any industry, about it's an ethos, an idea of how you love what you do. If you're, as I keep saying, if you're a police officer, if you're a customer services person, you enjoy dealing with people. If you're a lollipop man, you enjoy looking after the safety of children. And if you're in the movie industry or the film industry, you enjoy touching people emotionally with video. And whatever you do, you've got to love it. So that's what that book's about. I had a lot of fun writing it, and it's interesting that it's been brought up today. So the link is right there, how to do what you love for a living without selling your soul, and it's available. I would like to say from all good bookstores, but it's not. It's just on Amazon.
Perfect. And Douglas, real quick to finish it up, my friend, he's honestly saying that the question that he asked, I guess you kind of missed the point of what he was asking.
Sure.
We've got a couple more minutes. If you want to follow up with that one more time to see if you make the question a little bit more clear for Mike, to see if it can hit the nail on the head for you, please follow up real quick, and we'd love to do that. So, and then while we're waiting for that to come through real quick, I know you said wait for another call. Well, he might not be on any other future calls for a while, so if you want to follow that up. Amanda, I'll put it on there. She's just been eating it up. She says she loves your accent. So, you know.
Good. Well, yeah, I'm hoping because as I said, I'm going off to New York for 2 months up until the end of July. So I'm hoping that whenever I don't know what I'm doing, my British accent gets me by.
Right. Absolutely. Well, guys, again, while we're waiting for that final thing, if he gets it in or not, you know, we'll just link up one more time. If you guys want to follow us on Twitter or Facebook, please do so. And also check out our site, Create Insights. I'll go on about that in a second. Douglas, you got that follow-up? If not, I'm going to let Mike go here. I don't know if you're still listening.
Sorry to interrupt. If Douglas, I'm at Videographer88 on Twitter. If you wanted to connect with me afterwards, then we can always have a chat about your question after the show. I'll probably, as I'm a Twitter addict, be online all night.
That's perfect. Well, why don't we do that? If you want to hit him up, Douglas, he's very accessible. I know when I responded, not that I endorsed that he'll get back to everybody instantaneously, but he definitely responded very quickly when I asked him about being on this call. So I'll let him go. We've taken up plenty of his time today, so we appreciate you taking a big chunk of your day, or actually evening, to do this today. So we truly appreciate it. And guys, afterwards, all these links, everything will be talked about in the call will be available. So I'll let you go, my friend. Thank you so much. I hope everybody enjoyed the show. I have a few things to say afterwards, but we'll let Mike be on his way. So thanks, buddy.
Pleasure. No problem at all. Speak to you soon.
Cheers. Well, we'll see you, and maybe I'll see you in New York before you're out of there. I'm actually coming to New York probably in June. I'm actually going to be coming to New York, I think, in June. So. Oh,
cool. Yeah. We'll have to meet for a coffee. That'd be brilliant.
Awesome. That's great. Thanks, buddy.
No worries at all. All right, then. I'll speak to you soon. Thanks.
Yeah. Thank you. All right, everybody. Thanks so much for being on here today. I've got a special link for everybody. If you're loving what we have going on, we have a really great community that we're building up where we do a call-in spreecast every Wednesday. That's with myself and my partner, Chris Simmons. We do this together, Create Insights. We've actually got something. We're going to be raising the price to what we have going on in the Create Insider Coaching Program. We do this where our goal is to help video professionals, and we know that there's a lot of negative stuff out there, so it's our goal to put something together that's very positive, and that really helps video professionals network with great, other professionals. And whether you're a guy that's just starting, it's going to be phenomenal for you, because really we've helped guys. You can see on the page the success stories below the call of people we've helped who are getting $500 a job, and now they're getting $3,000 and upwards of that just in 6 to 8 months' time. Really having a big mind shift. So definitely check that out. We're going to be raising the price. We're including right now all of our ebooks, and it's my personal guarantee to you that you don't have to worry about the financial aspect. I mean, we couldn't say this a year ago, but we have some great testimonials and success stories now. We stand behind what we offer 1,000%. If there's any issues, you have a full money-back guarantee. Nothing to worry about there. So, it's our mission to help people. And if you just give us a chance, we know you'll love it. There's a lot of insiders on the call today who can attest to how helpful it's been, and like I said, how positive. You'll see there was a couple maniacs that jumped on our call today, and I immediately banned them from call because we have zero tolerance for being negative. And so another cool thing that we're going to have, there's a lot of just free random, Facebook groups and forums and things out there. A thing we're releasing probably at the very beginning of May is for all our paying members, and all our insiders, we're going to have a Facebook group. It's been extremely requested, so we're going to put that together so all you guys can network. Guys are already getting jobs with each other, and everything is going to be going up on May 1st. In fact, we're going to probably almost remove it. We're bringing out some new trainings, and they're only going to be available through those trainings to get part of this thing. Like yesterday, we had almost 50 people on our call. Just 2 hours of pure content every single week where we really just go through the things you've got going on in your business, and it's really great. So I encourage you guys to check that out. If you have any questions, I know there's about 50 of you still listening. I'll be on here for another few minutes. If you guys have any questions about what we have going on at Create Insights, please put that in the chat. I'm more than happy to answer any and all of your questions or your concerns or what may be holding you back. So definitely ask me that. I'll be here for a few minutes. If none of you have anything, some of you may not be listening anymore. I'm not sure. There's no more activity really in the chat. But I hope you guys enjoyed that call today. We do that typically every Tuesday or Thursday. And we usually make sure we do it at least once a week. Like I said, we haven't skipped since May. Clinton, I don't think that you're an insider member. If you are, I apologize. But I encourage you to check this out. If you're a video professional and you're struggling right now, it's going to be a great place to help take things to the next level for you. We just got an awesome email yesterday that said, your resources and content is what will get me to pay for month one, but your energy and excitement is what's going to keep me going for the months and months to keep going from there. So there's Mike in the chat again. He said, thanks for watching, guys. So, yeah, Blaine Corey, he's an insider member. He says, Create is a healthy energy drink for your business. And we truly appreciate that, Blaine. I got to meet Blaine not too long ago. Vince, he just joined recently. So I encourage you guys to check that out. I know there's a lot of you. Scott Dilworth, he's a Create member. Thank you so much, buddy, for giving the props. Guys, if anybody else is out there and you guys want to give a plug, we truly appreciate that. Again, there's a special offer on the screen. I'd love for you guys to check it out and take it for a test drive. Like I said, honestly, if after a year you guys freaking thought you got nothing out of it and you've shown that you've taken action, I would be, 1,000% there's something major wrong if over a year you haven't got any results and you've actually taken action. We would give you your money back because you're definitely deserving of the fact that you maybe shouldn't be in the video space, and you can have your money back. So there's no let's see here. What are your goals for others? Let's see here. So Anthony says worth every penny. So Marquise here said, what are your goals for others who are looking for a successful business? What are my goals? If you want to re-articulate that, Marquise, what are your goals for others who are looking for a successful business? You're looking to buy a business. My goal for others is that they're able to do what they love and make a living at it. There's so many out there who are struggling. There's so many out there who are struggling to get by, and they love filming, or they love editing, or they love producing, and they love these different things, but they just don't know what that critical inch is. We talk about it all the time. What is that critical inch? If you talk about, say, the Olympics, and you have gold, silver, and bronze, right? First, second, and third place. You don't hear about fourth place, and a lot of times you don't hear about second or third. It's just the first person, the first place person you hear about, and they may have only won by a tenth of a millisecond. So it's just that critical inch that you need to get by, and sometimes when you're in the trenches, it's really hard to see that. So although you can be rocking it in your business, sometimes it's difficult for you to see what's right in front of your face, and sometimes the outsiders can see that. And so that's what we're here to be, is a coach for you guys to help you, but also everybody in the chat. You see how active this is. Now, obviously, we were just talking to Mike today, and just talking to Mike, that's all we're talking about. But really, and we're talking about specific questions related to him. But with the Wednesday calls, we're talking about specific questions related to you and your business. And so I hope that helped, Marquise. If you have any other follow-up, hit me up. Amanda, I haven't personally published a book yet. We're obviously here for video professionals mainly. But the reality is, you can actually, I'd have to look them up. I think I have one right here. Let me see if I still have it down here. Let me look really quickly. I've got something I can give you. Here's a place to get your, look, I can help people everywhere. It doesn't matter what you're trying to do. Digipod, right here. Check out Digipod. Get your book printed today. This is self-publishing. For less than $5 a book, I mean, you can have, I believe actually, maybe for $2 or $3, you can go there and actually get your book self-published for under $500, and you could have a book that's like this, you know, soft cover, and it really works great. So that's an option for you for self-publishing. You definitely get a book and start being able to sell, you know, get this for a couple dollars each, and then sell them for, you know, $10+ or more. So that's something. And then Clinton here is saying Create Space is a self-publishing site. I don't know that. Any other quick questions, guys? I'll take any questions or anything. Otherwise, I'm going to be on my way. And, you know, the beauty of putting the right people and things and everything in place is that when I get off this call, I'm going to go for probably a bike ride. It's a beautiful day, and I've put amazing people in place that are crushing it for me. And although that doesn't mean that I don't work, but it does allow all of us to have the flexibility. Any specials on renewals for us veteran insiders? Honestly, unless you're in at any more than $24 a month, your special is that you should have access, and if you don't, Todd, you should have access to all of the ebooks. So the Six-Figure Videographer, the Writing Video Proposals, which has been so helpful to everybody, the Glide Cam training, you should have access to all that. And then you're going to lock in that price. So that's the other thing. That deal did the year-long super deal. Yeah, you should be good to go, man. There's nothing we're offering right now that we haven't offered in the past. So you're rocking and rolling. We're going to visit the UK. John Wallage, I actually am coming to the UK, and I'm going to London in May. I'll be in Chicago, London, Canada, and New York City within like a 3 or 4 week period of time. So lots of traveling. But anyways, if you guys have any questions about that, you can always email us, info@createinsights. If you guys can't make the calls, you can email us your questions. We'll answer them, email you back, and tell you where we answered it. And there's all the replays. I know you guys are also sitting here in limbo land hearing me gab and gab and gab and gab forever and ever and ever and ever. You love my white teeth. So anyways, well, I'm going to go, guys. Rock and roll. Appreciate it. Keith is in the chat. And, yeah, mobile too, finally. Check us out on mobile devices. You always can get on here now and hopefully never have to miss a live call. So if you're in the car or whatever else, you can always watch this. So rock and roll, guys. And we hope to see you next week when we announce the winner of the GoPro. And if you haven't entered the contest, you can enter it here. And rock and roll, guys. So I can go on and on and on. We'll see you guys later. Take care.